It's Friday lunchtime and you've found the ultimate gown for outside on Saturday overnight, but you're jammed at your desktop. No issue, since following a pair of clicks, it's in your cart and on its way to your household. The is the joy of on the internet trading, and our loving of it continues to increase. But which cost does receive thing, the quick price, the environmental? Verdant campaigners claim our consumer demand for receive thing brought at rate, if it's Amazon main or prime supply on a sauce, is addition to carbon sequestration emissions. Transportation is accountable for an enormous piece of the UK's carbon sequestration emissions, and the levels are in fact growing, Muna Suleiman of Friends of the Land says. Supply companies are a considerable portion of the. We've seen several nice advance on use of janitor vehicles such as goods bikes and electrical vans, but we vary requirement to see Verdant deliveries proper the rule. Every year, the King Post delivers about 1.8 trillion parcels, by leg, bike and gas-guzzling vehicles. The business says it's devoted to reduction its carbon sequestration emissions future. The 1 week, King Post is representing 8 e-trikes in its navy. The vehicles are given by a conjunction of foot and cell force and will be utilized to do deliveries by posties in Cambridge, Sutton Coldfield and Stratford in London. It's portion of a 6-month test and, if success, could see the schema stretched. Our e-trikes are null radiation vehicles, David O., King Post's CEO of Social Sphere and Politics, explains. This 48V Li cell is loaded night by power line force but is complemented by sunny panels on the rooftop of the car. Regeneration brake as well helps to force the bicycle. King Post already has a navy of 100 electrical vehicles and has announced plans to extend it. We include the greatest feet on the road web of 90,000 postmen and female, and we include diminished carbon sequestration emissions by 29% with 2005. But we wish to discover, though, more than ecologically amiable ways to supply to 30 millionth homes through the UK, David O. adds. Following monthly, an ultra-low radiation area will be entered in centre London to try and bring air contamination. It'll several of the largest polluting vehicles will be loaded for incoming the town centre. By the government wants some towns and cities to pursue the equities conduct, and lot supply companies say they're already produced for it. Jodl is one of them. It says it's manufacturing considerable investment to bring its carbon sequestration track. It delivers about 145 millionth parcels every year in the UK. In its spike time it says it delivers about 1 millionth a date. We include nested-in technique to compute the largest effective means of communication and estimate our drivers' drive styling to future bring our carbon sequestration track, Jodl CEO Andrew Peeler says. We've been work in loop couriers in a quantity of towns for lot year and are representing electrical to our navy the springtime, time as well trialing condensed nature gas given trucks. DPD says it's changed the vehicles it uses in the next too much. The business usually orders 1,000 diesel engine Mercedes sprinting vans each year, but says it's now just departure to buy electrical in next. It's already got 3 all-electric micro-depots and is aimed to include 8 in London. In a declaration DPD told, we see by ourselves at the foreground of the technique but can just go as quick as the car manufacturers enable. Hermes is as well departure downward the electrical car path, at the time it's got 32 electrical vans operational in London. Besides, the business, that delivers 335 millionth parcels in the UK every year, claims to be the at first in the marketplace to use biomethane gas to force 30 vehicles. It says it's located the greatest discovery procedure of 30 condensed nature gas truck units following a year-long test. The vehicles now do up almost 20% of the 166 truck units in the Navy. Though supply companies are start to do changes, several critics say they requirement to do more than. We requirement to see supply companies selector their whole navy of vehicles to ones given by Pure Power, ArcPar, head scholar for Greenpeace UK, says. To be really pure, these would requirement to be loaded by revolving force quite rather than fossil gas. It's not fair on how the vehicles are given, although It's significant they are built in a way how keeps their ecological track as little as probable, and so how their parts can be deused and processed at the end of their lives, ARC says. If an electrical car were made and utilized wherever the major resource of power was charcoal, that would severely indentation its Verdant authorities. The campaigning team as well says it wants to see more than bicycles and e-bikes utilized to bring emissions and contamination. Hannah Morgan admits she was inclined to trading on the internet. She'd expend up to £9,000 a year purchase clothing on the internet, back largest of them. I knew I was potential to back 80%, 100% of my procedure, and in complementary supply and easy period slots to select of, my on the internet trading drug addiction thick felt innocuous. At no spot had I deliberate the carbon sequestration track of every of my orders. I was in upheaval above the ecological effect the Vogue production is possessing, time at once mind-sweeping via my ASOS app unknowingly addition things to my cart, prepared for instantaneous buy and complimentary following day supply. Hannah has tested to halt the seduction of purchase by delete trading apps and unsubscribing to all sale emails. It's previous days, but I'm using Vision things otherwise and am with hope manufacturing a little but favorable effect in the trial. Campaigners say consumer dong tea include to get dramatic activity love Hannah in procedure to cut emissions. By selecting companies with fresher supply methods you can show how the consumer demand to cut emissions is down there, Muna Suleiman of Friends of the Land, says. If you include a clicking and gather position during walk range of your household or job, that can as well cut downward on the quantity of miles managed by every wagon. Until Amazon doesn't immediately supply its parcels, it has newly devoted to do all Amazon shipments net null carbon sequestration, in 50% of all shipments net null by 2030. In a declaration it says, improved in electrical vehicles, aircraft bioembers, reused packing, and revolving power, for the at first period we can now see a way to net null carbon sequestration supply of shipments to customers. But ARC Par of Greenpeace UK says companies love Amazon could levy more stringent standards on the supply firms they utilize. Liability for the goes order up the circuit of team. Amazon is generative the industry, so Amazon should be request how its supply agents are manufacturing those deliveries pure. If they requested to levy standards they could. Customers gather the consumer goods at a regional store or nominated choose up spot, love a newsstand or parking garage, while it's easy for them. It's not fair easy for the customer, but in deliveries departure to one location, emissions are immediately diminished. Yet, it could be completely resist efficient, if the client conducted their diesel engine or gasoline car to choose how package up.